Welcome back to Hardcore Minecraft. In today's episode, we're finally solving our food problem and building up a barn. So we're not going to do crops yet, but we are going to get a nice big red barn. And in order to do that, we need red terracotta. But since I don't want to go to a mesa, we're going to get some clay blocks, throw all those clay blocks into a furnace. Once they're done cooking up, we'll get out some terracotta blocks. And then once we have these terracotta blocks, we can add them to whatever dye we want, in this case red, and we'll get our red terracotta blocks. So let's do that. We're going to be smelting everything over here in the mines just because this is where we have all of our furnaces. And if you look at our fuel source, we're still using charcoal. Honestly, I don't mind using charcoal, and this is the first playthrough I've really done it in, but it's kind of just convenient. While we're here though, we are going to run down into our iron strip mining section, and we're going to grab all the diorite we have, just because I want to outline the barn with some diorite and also some polished diorite. I was thinking about using some other white blocks like stripped pale logs or mushroom stems or maybe bone blocks, but honestly I kind of just like the diorite and the polished diorite, so we're just going to use those two. But honestly, this amount isn't really enough. I mean, one stack is fine. Maybe this will be enough polished diorite, but I do want a lot more diorite, just unpolished version. So I'm going to go ahead and mine some of that. Luckily there's a bunch in the strip mine, so I'm just going to collect a bunch of this and then I'll meet you guys over at the barn. So there's no barn yet, but before we actually start building that barn, we have to do just a little bit of terraforming because none of the land around here is flat or spacious or anything like that. So just go ahead and chop all of this dirt down, and then we'll try to make these edges a little bit more natural. This spot is still going to have to be touched up a little bit more because we want a chicken coop and like a sheep grazing area type of thing over here. So a lot of work still to do on this mountainside, but for now I'm just trying to get a rough estimate of the amount of space that we'll need. And after we get these final dirt blocks in, we just have to cut down some of that stone and we'll be ready to go. I honestly thought about just covering this up, but it really doesn't take that long. And honestly, terraforming is not that bad, even though I don't have enchanted tools yet. I guess I technically have enchanted tools, but they're like efficiency 1, so no insta-mining, nothing like that. Anyways, that's the area, in case you guys wanted to see it. It looks something like this right now, and we're still going to punch some of this dirt back, but for now, don't worry about it. So this sign typing was actually left in from my recording when I was thinking about uploading a long play of this video. I didn't upload the long play because it honestly really sucked and the animals broke out a lot and it was really loud and stuff like that. But I am roughly following a guide by Emik or Emik on YouTube. I'll link that in the description in case you guys want to check it out. But I just used it as inspiration. I did use a lot of the same block palette as he did. I added, I think, only one additional block to the texturing palette. It was stripped mangrove logs. Thought about adding red wool, that's why you see some red sheep running around, but yeah, I didn't copy all of it. I used a lot of the inside and the general shape, but I attached the silo to my barn and I changed a lot of the functionality of the barn, but yeah, I'll link that in case you guys want to check it out. For now, here's the outline. As you guys can see over on the right, there's some grass blocks in like a weird shape, and that's because I'm just outlining the pen, and that little box to the right side of the barn is where the chicken coop's going to be. But here's our barn shape. It's nice and red. There's no texturing blocks going in yet, just because obviously I kind of want a little bit of an outline first, and then that little circle on the side is going to be our silo. So building that up now. And then the back side is also a little bit different from that reference video, but again, it's a pretty similar build. So I want to give credit where it's due, but I also don't feel like I copied it, so I feel good about it. Anyways, I'll stop talking about the reference and we'll get into the interior design. So the inside is actually going to be pretty interesting here because I was trying to balance the theme of the build and like aesthetics with functionality, and there's not a lot of function that can be put into a barn. Since this isn't a farming video, so there's no crops and stuff, this is all animals. So I'm using the inside of this barn as more of the theme and the storage area for all of our for our animal products and stuff like that. But I am going to sneak some functionality into here because I'm going to have our automatic cow crusher. If you don't know what a cow crusher is, I'll explain that a little bit later while I'm actually building it. But for now, we're just going to build up some support beams and any blocks that you see that aren't patched in, like there's some of the roof blocks that aren't in there yet, some of the red, just from the inside. I do go back and take care of that. I might not show it on camera, but trust me, it's not there. So if your OCD is freaking out a little bit, don't worry, I took care of it. For now though, we are just going to add our little second story. And up on the second story, we're going to have all of our storage and stuff like that. Honestly, I don't think we're going to use the storage too much, but I do think it looks pretty nice. And again, this is that balance between theme and functionality. And honestly, I think the barn is so much more complete with it. So I'm glad that I did it, even though it was so much wood. It's a bunch of barrels and stuff up there, so Took a lot of wood, and honestly never really going to use it, but I do like it. I think it's worth it in the end. Also, a lot of the gameplay is frustrating for me to watch back. I missed so many clicks and I was placing so many blocks in the wrong spot. I was actually playing in a bed for this. So I was recently on a little trip for work, and I had to play in a hotel room, and one of my coworkers that I was sharing a room with was in there, and I didn't want him to see me recording this video because I didn't want him to find my YouTube channel or anything, or honestly even know that I had a YouTube channel. So I was kind of keeping it a little bit hidden. So I was playing on a little book as a mouse pad, and then I also had a book underneath my computer so the fans weren't going too crazy mode. I do play on a laptop, so that's what's going on in the background, and that's why I am not doing the best at placing all these blocks. Anyways, that's not super important right now. What is important is this video is very long, and it feels weird uploading a longer video, but you guys are telling me to do a longer video. So this one's actually pretty full. The last video that I uploaded is going to be also pretty long, but I feel like there's way less content in that one. This one is content heavy. I was going to split it up into maybe 2 videos, one for the chicken coop and one for the barn, but I decided to make it one long video, so I hope you guys like that. For now though, we're actually going to start some of the interior decoration, and this is just going to be like a little water trough for all the animals and stuff. I ended up building this wrong, so as you can see, I'm placing it on the block inside of the little pen area, and that makes it so that the animals can actually jump up on top of that. I wasn't supposed to do it like that. I was supposed to place it on the block that's going to have the water on top of it, and then I can cover that block and they won't be able to jump up, but we'll take care of that issue a little bit later. For now, we're just going to build a nice little path here, and I expanded my palette here by using coarse dirt, which I've never really used before, but I learned that if I place coarse dirt as a barrier between grass blocks and dirt blocks, the dirt can't spread over, or not the dirt, the grass can't spread over the coarse dirt onto the normal dirt, so you can actually texture a path with coarse dirt and dirt and have 2 different textures and shades of brown, which I was a big fan of here. I might still expand the palette a little bit more, incorporating some path blocks or some gravel, maybe some oak wood slabs if there's a change in verticality or anything like that. But for now, I was really liking the coarse dirt, and I think it's something that everybody should use a lot more, because I've literally never crafted a single block of coarse dirt until this video, and now that I use it, I'll probably use it in every single path build and everything like that I do. Anyways, that being said, none of the paths are done yet. I'm still trying to find that optimal path or the thing that I fall in love with. But for this barn build, I actually do think it's pretty perfect, because there's obviously going to be a lot of foot traffic into the barn, and there's not really going to be any grass. But I also thought that gravel felt really out of place inside of the barn. I don't know. I'm thinking dirt is good for inside of a barn, but for the actual paths connecting multiple builds, still might use gravel, still might use some other blocks, path blocks, but yeah. Anyways, I decided to also put coarse dirt in the water troughs. I was thinking about using cauldrons or stone or making this a little bit more formal, but for now I just wanted to make sure that the grass wasn't spreading somewhere that I couldn't see it, so I just put coarse dirt in there, and honestly, never going to see those blocks again, so it doesn't really matter. Now that the path's done, we're going to put in some fence gates, and like I said, these are going to be our little animal pens. I don't think I want a pen in the center just because, I don't know, it seemed like a better spot for a crafting table or something like that. Maybe a little bit of storage, but yeah, not going to put a pen in the middle on either side. And then now that that's done, I'm going to bone meal a little bit. I like bone mealing a lot of these builds. I don't usually do it, but this series has been so different. My palette is different, my texturing is different, my builds are different, my ideas are different, but honestly, I think that's good. And honestly, the short grass adds so much, not texture, not variety. It just adds so much more of a homey feel to the build, and I think the animals will enjoy having a little bit of grass in there, so not too bad. On the other side in the center, we're going to place a ladder up to the top. I thought about doing a staircase, but I decided that a ladder would fit a little bit better since the inside of the barn's not very big. And now the stripped oak, I think, looks a little bit better. So now that we're up here, we're going to place down our storage, and first, we got to place these blocks. I think I ended up fixing most of the blocks that were missing at this point. So all the red terracotta that was missing up top and all the roofing that was missing up top is now done, so no need to worry about that. But for now, let's go ahead and craft up some barrels. Storage was a bit of a problem on this build just because it's bigger than most of the other things that I've done so far, and therefore it required a lot more materials. But since I wasn't following a guide, I did follow some inspiration from that previously mentioned video. But since I wasn't following a guide, I didn't know how many materials to build. And honestly, I think this is why most hardcore YouTubers use Lightmatica for their big builds, just so they don't have to worry about storage. And everything they want, they know exactly how much they want, and they're never going to have to take care of storage afterwards, because taking care of the storage after was a nightmare. But anyways, this is our little second story. Nothing too crazy, but again, we don't really need too much up here since there's not much function we can fit up here, and thematically, storage is great for it, but we don't need too much of it. Also, I don't actually finish this section up right now, so we're just going to cut to me texturing up some of the builds. I could have textured this a lot earlier, but for some reason I just wanted to get the rest of the barn done. I think it's because replay mod was running and I wanted to finish up the outside before I did any of the texturing. But yeah, now we need to go up there, texture up the remaining pieces of the roof, and then we actually won't do the texture on the barn until a lot later. And by barn, I guess I should change my word for the diorite on the barn, because we already did the roof, all the deep slate is textured already, and now we're doing the diorite section. But the red part of the barn we're not going to do for a while, because we had to go on a really long adventure to get mangrove wood and mangrove logs and mangrove popules and all that stuff. So yeah, we had to get a little bit of farming going, and we had to grow some trees. And I also wanted to try out azalea, even though it's a little bit oranger than red. Wanted to try that out, so we grew some of those trees in the background as well. We don't end up using any of the azalea, but it was still nice to have it. So again, I overcompensated for this build. I got red wool, a bunch of red sheep to try to texture with that. It looked really silly, it was just too bright of red. And the azalea, I wasn't a huge fan because it was orange, and I really wanted that stereotypical red barn. But anyways, texturing up these diorite sections is pretty easy, and they go together pretty nicely, so I wasn't too worried about it at all. I still hate the way the red looks, and yeah, we'll take care of that later. But for now, since the barn is technically complete, even though not perfectly, we can finally pull in some of these cows over. So the first of the sections of the animals, I think this is actually the first one that we dug back in our first episode of this series. We can finally close that up, and we can make sure that these cows are following us over. Some of them are going to get away. That's completely fine by me. Honestly, we really only need 2 in a pen, and then we need 2 in our cow crusher, which we still haven't built, but in order to do that, we need the cows over here first. So we're going to throw these guys in a pen, and we'll let them move for the rest of the video, I guess. It took a long time to get them over, and the stupid part of this barn is that big fake door right there made out of trapdoors. For whatever reason, the AI sucks at getting around it. So the animals all didn't like to get in here. But also, if zombies or anything were creeping up on me while I was building at night, they can't get in the door. They all get stuck on the corners and stuff, so that works for me, I guess. What doesn't work is what I mentioned earlier. I totally goofed with these little water troughs, and I did not build them properly at all. At this point, I didn't even build anything above the top because I completely forgot that animals could jump up onto them. So I added some fences on the sides, and I thought that this would help solve the issue because I thought that they were only going from on top of the trapdoors onto the fence gates, but then I realized that they could just completely walk over the trapdoors. So this required a little bit of a solution, and again, this is one of those reasons that I didn't make a long play for this video, because I was just so frustrated with this. And then the chicken coop is, believe it or not, even worse, because I make an automated chicken thing over there and they end up breaking out like 2 or 3 times. So filling that up and then having them break out just really turbo sucked. So yeah. Anyways, for now though, I think I just need to do more trapdoors over the top of the water trough, or I just need to add fences over the top of the water trough. But then I actually realized that that's also not going to work because they can still climb out. And I don't know why I didn't plan this out ahead of time, or why I didn't just check a reference somewhere else, but I didn't, so it is starting to bite me in the butt here. And as you can see, the storage up here was pretty necessary because we had just a bunch of random garbage. And yeah, every time I had to go check my storage originally, I would have to run all the way outside the barn, start at the double chest way over there, and come all the way back in. No fun. But anyways, I'm thinking that the fences are going to work for some reason. They're 1.5 blocks or whatever tall, so I thought that if the animals jumped on top of the trapdoor, they would be held behind by the fence gate, or not fence gate, by the normal fence, because they wouldn't be able to crawl through the gap. And I actually think this did work. I'm actually not too sure. This isn't what I end up with finally, but I think it does work. We'll check it with this cow right here. So if he can still jump on top of the fence gate and get out, then it's a problem. But as you can see, he can get on top of the fence gate, but he can't get underneath the fence. So I add these additional fences in the corners so that they can't really leave anywhere. But this doesn't solve the problem of them jumping up on the trapdoors, and I don't like it. So we're going to have to scrap it all another time and figure out what we're doing here. I was just double checking to make sure he couldn't actually escape. So technically they're in, but I figured out that if I just put the trapdoor on this block, on top of the coarse dirt block, then they don't have those pixels to stand on. So I can just use normal trapdoors on top of that, and this looks so much better. So this is what I'm going to end up settling with, and it ends up working. So I'm very glad. It took much longer than I would like to admit to figure out how to do this, and as you can see, my inventory is just full. It was a whole mess. That's one of the main reasons actually that it's not a long play, is because the storage was so annoying for me to do that I thought it would just be a complete waste of time to upload, since I personally wouldn't watch someone do inventory management simulator for a long time. But anyways, that's all done. I need to go ahead and do it over here on the third pen, and once I do that, I can add all the water and finally be done with these stupid troughs. They look nice, and I know how to do it in the future, but the learning experience definitely took way too long. As you can see, I used the middle section over there for the crafting table, and I couldn't really place anything more around it since the trapdoors are restricting that block. But honestly, I think it looks pretty nice. I'll toss a lantern or something on there, and ultimately it'll look pretty good. We do need just a few more trapdoors, and this was the story of the whole build. Just either overshoot everything completely, like terracotta. I think I have an extra couple hundred terracotta blocks, but either overshoot completely or completely undershoot. And I'm learning that I always undershoot with these spruce trapdoors. So in the future, I might just craft a few stacks of spruce trapdoors and never look back. But for now, I have to craft them every 5 minutes, which honestly kind of suck. But at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. We finally moved on to a little piece of functionality in this build, and it's our cow crusher. I didn't plan on using diorite, but I wanted to kind of see if it fit here or anything like that. Switched it over to wood, and then I realized it wouldn't fit and it was too tall. So we're gonna have to tear this one down as well. And then what we're gonna need to do is punch it into the floor a little bit, just since that was too tall, we weren't gonna be able to get cows into it. So I'll go ahead and clean out this chest. And like I said, inventory management was awful this episode, but it gets taken care of pretty quickly once everything gets into place. But for now, let's go ahead and tear the rest of this down, switch my inventory around, and finally dig it into the floor. So I'm going to put it 2 blocks down just because I really want to make sure it's not too tall this time. And honestly, a chest underground makes it seem a little bit less industrial and a little bit more homey, which is that nice cozy vibe that I'm going for. Anyways, that dirt block on top of the hopper is where the baby cows are going to stand. And then if I place a little bit more on the sides, this block height, I guess I should say, is where the adult cows will stand. And if you've never seen a cow crusher before, then it works through entity cramming, which basically means if there's 24 entities in one block, including yourself, by the way, be careful. If there's 24 entities in one block, they take damage just by being in the same block together too close. So what we're going to do is get 24 cows into this little individual hole, make sure that they can't slip out into the back here, and then get my way out because now I'm stuck. But anyways, we get 24 cows all into the same hole here, and then we throw some water on top of this hopper so that all the cows inside the hole will just continually bob and swim up and stuff like that. So we can walk up with our wheat, breed them all super easily, and then they dive entity cramming. Their goodies fall into the chest, and we get free leather and free beef relatively easy. This build was honestly not too frustrating, but I wanted to make sure I did it right since I have messed up cow crushers in the past. And now that I know how to do it, I don't think I'll ever forget how to do it. So maybe incorporate this in your next world because it's really simple and I think the payout is phenomenal, especially when you're farming for leather to get your enchanting bookshelves. I would have done this on episode 1 if I didn't want to take it slow. So it's something you can do on episode 1. I think you just need 6 or 7 iron for the hopper. But even then, it's really not expensive at all. For now though, let's get the cows in. It's pretty easy. Just have to lead one over, push him into the hole, and then once that one's in, you can just go ahead and put him into love mode with some wheat, and his partner will run over and jump in the hole to join him. I added this slab to make sure that I could put water in there afterwards without them escaping, so here goes the first one. I lost the second one. I have no idea where he was. I think he was just behind the ladder, but now that I have both of them, I go ahead and slap him into love mode, and he's going to climb right into the hole. Now they have a little baby, and now that that's done, I can break the fence out, put it on top of them so they can never escape, and then I can pop this stair out right here, and then I can take my water, put it in there so that they swim up, and now that they're swimming up, I can just actually replace this diorite slab right here with another piece of wood. I'll do a full block of wood, or I guess 2 slabs. I actually think I tried to sneak that slab in there underneath the other diorite one, but they don't stack, so no biggie. That's our cow crusher completely done. We don't have a lot of wheat right now, so it's going to take a while to load, but as you can see, if I toss something in there, oh, we need to get rid of this stair. I put an upside down stair there as a placeholder, but we'll go ahead and put a slab there just to make sure that the water doesn't run. But as you can see, the items that go in do end up in the chest. And now we'll just take this slab. I want to make sure that the water or the cows can't escape right now. But we'll take the slab, cover it up, and now it's perfectly functional. Moving on from that, since these other pens are empty, we're going to go ahead and put some piggies in this one. And again, just look at the AI for this whole barn. Everything was really funky. The trapdoors were funky, the spruce barn door trapdoors were funky. Everything was funky, and it was really hard to get anything where I wanted it, so I actually end up just covering up this infinite water source that I made, and once that's done, it should be pretty easy. But I did get a lot of animals getting stuck at a lot of points, which was really annoying, but honestly, it only took a few seconds to start. It was just the compiling minor inconveniences, and yeah. Anyways, though, there's our pigs, completely done, locked in. I don't think I'll ever have use for pigs, so they're just going to stay there and add to the ambiance of the build. But sheep, I'll go ahead and bring them in here. These sheep are probably never really going to be utilized, maybe if we need some wool, but again, they're mostly just for decoration, and I guess if we need a specific color of wool, it'll be easy to just come in here and dye these 3 guys. But yeah, there's all the sheep done, and as you can see, we're finally texturing the red parts of the barn. I have the mangrove wood planks already in place, and now I just want to strip some mangrove logs because the red is also super nice. I thought about doing the, I don't know what to call it, but the stump, the face of the log facing out, because that would add even more texture, but I don't know, I decided against it just because I thought that was too much texture and it would kind of take away from it. So for now, it's just going to be planks and then the sides of the log like that. I won't show you guys all of it, but I will just go up here, make sure you guys know I'm doing everything high and low with no specific order to it, so there's not going to be a gradient from top to bottom like I usually do. This is just going to be a total random texturing extravaganza. After all this is done, though, we can actually slide over to this section on the right. And sorry about that replay mod notification. I wanted to make sure I had it on replay mod. But we can slide over here and start building our automated cooked chicken farm, which is super neat and super useful. And it'll mean that we never have to cook chicken again for the rest of the world. So this specifically is going to solve our food problem. Technically, the cow crusher also does, but since this automatically cooks them, it'll be even better. And in case you don't know how it works, basically there's a hopper right here. And then on top of this hopper, we put a half slab and then a dispenser behind it. So this dispenser behind it is going to be fed by chickens that sit on top of this hopper, on top of that dispenser. And then it's going to dispense the eggs into the half slab where baby chickens can stand, but as soon as they grow up, their heads cook in the lava and then they drop cooked chicken, which gets sucked up through the hopper and gets deposited into the chest. So the lava goes right here. And then we're going to have to build up around that just to make sure that the chickens don't fall into the lava and that it's only the dispensed chickens from the eggs that are actually going to be in contact with the lava. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and build this up a few blocks. Right now, I don't actually put a block on top of the lava, which is a mistake. I come back and I do it later, but for now, make sure if you're going to follow this, you follow an actual tutorial and not me, because I do this in the most scuffed way imaginable, and that's why I have to redo it like 2 or 3 times. But for now, this is just a placeholder. We're going to try to build an actual aesthetic chicken coop around this build. Even though it's a little bit big, I guess I could have done it a block or 2 lower, but here's the back. I don't really know why I thought the demonstration was necessary, but eggs go in this dispenser, and if we want, we can shoot them into the slab. But for now, we need to do a little bit of redstone, and since we haven't gone to the nether, we don't have a comparator. So instead of a comparator, we're going to use a redstone burnout torch. And to do that, I basically just need to place a block right here with a torch. A solid block, sorry. I guess I should specify. And then on top of this, we need another solid block. And then on the side of that solid block, we need a redstone torch. And then we'll run redstone dust down the side of both. So there's our first one. And then this will be our second one right here. Block on top, and then 2 redstone pieces of dust running into the dispenser. I'm not really good at explaining redstone. I know a little bit of it, but yeah, little burnout torch, and then we can go up top and add all of our chickens in here. Luckily, we have a million billion eggs from the little chicken holding area that we made on episode 1. But yeah, throw all these guys in there. They'll grow up and start laying eggs, and then those eggs will be easy chicken for us. Now that we have enough, we can just cover that up, and we can go ahead and tear down the dirt around the sides. But before we do that, I want to make sure that we're breeding up these cows. We don't have a lot of wheat, but whenever we do have wheat, we want to make sure that that's going so the cow crusher can start as soon as possible. That brings us to this area over here where we're just going to build a nice little pen, and I think we'll put some sheep in there. I was thinking about other animals that we could put, but I think sheep will end up looking the nicest. This one's just purely aesthetic. If we want, we could end up adding like a fully automatic wool farm underneath, and we can do all the different colors of sheep. But since we haven't gone to the nether, we don't have quartz, so we can't build observers. I guess I could technically hook it up in the same way with like a burnout torch or something like that, but I don't want to. They're so loud. And also, we just really don't need a bunch of wool right now. I can't really imagine needing a bunch of wool in the near future since I have the future builds planned out and none of them require wool. So that being said, we're just going to go ahead and finish this pen. I thought about building a little stable area here instead and tossing some horses in, but I don't know. I didn't really want to do a stable next to a barn. I kind of wanted to save a stable for another area where there's more buildings, or like maybe next to my house or in a more centralized area, something like that. But yeah, for whatever reason, the stable just didn't feel appropriate. So I'm tossing sheep in here, and they're going to be purely aesthetic. Probably never gonna harvest their wool, but if I ever need to, I could breed a bunch of sheep in this pen because it is really big, and we could dye in whatever color we want and then get a lot of wool that way. So it could serve a purpose, but functionally I don't plan on it serving a purpose. Since it's here though, we do need to decorate it up a little bit, and I have a bunch of hay bales that I took from a village. Haven't used these at all, by the way, for breeding the cow crusher. I thought about it, but I don't know. I'm not farming wheat except my little tiny crop farm over by the camp. So we're waiting for next episode to start farming crops. And once we start farming crops, then we're going to have a bunch of wheat to play with. But for right now, I'm saving all the hay bales to make sure that we can get the aesthetics done. I don't think the sheep will need much more than that, so I'll just leave them that. And all the grass, I'll leave most of it because, in case you didn't know, sheep need to eat the grass on top of a grass block in order to regenerate their wool. Actually, they might not need to, but I'm pretty sure they do. Pretty sure they need to. It might be also on a timer, but theoretically you could shear a sheep, it could eat grass instantly, and then you could shear it again a second time within like 2 seconds. But for now, I'm just going to grab some water. I do this in probably the worst way. I didn't see that I had a second bucket in my inventory, so instead I do this one by one, taking it away from their water trough, adding one in here, making an infinite water source in a 3x1, and then using that infinite water source to repopulate the water trough. If I just used my second bucket, I could have instantly made this water source and then just ran back one single time instead of going back and forth 4 times. But hey, that's okay. Not everything has to be optimal. And I guess that's the theme of this whole series after all, is not doing the optimal play and just kind of taking my time, enjoying it, playing it how I was as a kid. So nothing has to be smart when you're playing like a kid. Anyways, I have 16 more hay bales, and I'm thinking about where to put them, so outside the barn doors will probably be the best since this is forward facing, and this is probably the only time I'm really going to see the front of the barn. Sorry, I said that completely wrong. The only time I'm going to see the barn is going to be from the front, so I might as well make the front look super pretty, and then around the back is going to be where the crop farms go, so we're not going to need hay bales over there. So I'm just going to waste all of them on the front. I don't like that extra one, but I will put one around the back right here, and then I'll go ahead and I guess the one on the back isn't too nice. I'll leave the one on the front, and now that I have 2, it's a little bit awkward. I kind of want to put them inside, but putting them here just does not look nice at all. So I'm going to take that down for sure, and I'll find somewhere random to put these outside. Also, in case the torches are bothering you, The torches suck right now. They're definitely scuffed. I placed all those down to make sure I had no torches in my inventory, so I had the extra inventory spot. But I do take care of the lighting, and I make it all lanterns, and it looks nice. But for now, I just have so many torches everywhere because I wanted to work through the night for once, and nothing was spawn proof. So there was a lot of mobs. I didn't want to get griefed by a creeper. So yeah, sorry about all the torches. They're a little bit erratic here, but that's okay. They get cleaned up in the future. For now, though, we do just need to put a little bit of a path in, and I didn't want to do too much of a path, but I also kind of wanted the path to go through the whole thing, because if I didn't put the path inside of the pen, it looked like I just never walked into the pen. And even though I probably won't be walking into the pen, I think it just makes a little bit of aesthetic sense to have some foot traffic going into this pen. So, like I said, coarse dirt, new favorite block. I'm going to be putting a bunch of coarse dirt in there, and then also, like I said, red sheep, because I thought I was going to use it on the barn. Didn't end up using any red wool, but I still have some red sheep. I'll take care of that later. They're not going to stay red. I don't know. I thought about leaving them red and getting a white sheep and then getting like white, red, and pink outside the barn. But there's already so much red with the barn and the silo. I was just kind of tired of looking at red. So what I will end up doing is actually grabbing another sheep from over here somewhere, if I can find one, and then I'll use a little bit of bone meal to make white dye. At this point, I still wasn't too sure if I wanted white and pink and red, so I only got one white dye, and I'm going to leave the other one red for just a little bit. In case you're not following the series, that right there is my crop farm, and that's why we don't have a lot of wheat. There's literally 4 different spaces, 4 tilled spaces where we're growing wheat, and that's never going to be enough to do anything crazy fast, but it will get it done by the time this build is done. It just won't be very fast. Speaking of not very fast, leading the animals from the camp to the barn was a really short walk, but they just kept losing interest, and I don't know, usually I go really slow to make sure that they don't lose interest, but they just kept losing interest in me. And even when I was trying to lead chickens over to the chicken coop, they just lost interest. So instead of leading chickens over, I majorly just used the eggs and spawned them over there, which was so much more convenient, and I'm glad that I thought to do it that way. Now that we have 2 sheep in there, though, that's pretty much done, and we can build the chicken coop. As you can see, they all escaped so many times, and yeah, that's why this is all in replay mod, because the chicken coop was a little bit of a nightmare to build, and I kept letting them all go. So yeah, that's the chicken coop done. I'll go ahead and give you guys a little bit of a tour. Right here is our barn, or our first pen with our cows, and then we have our pigs over here. Our cow crusher, which is fully functional at this point. There's nothing in there yet, but it does work, and I have already reaped the benefits of it. They get a water trough even though they can never access it, and then we have some sheep here. I ended up putting them all back to white just because it looks a little bit more natural than red. And here's the storage area finished up. Not really utilizing it too much, but it's there in case we ever need it. And then we have our sheep over here. Like I said, white, gray, and black. Little chest for wool or for whatever else we might need. And here's the chicken coop, so there's a bunch of free-range guys over here that live in the coop. And then if we go up here, there's a little barrel where we can store eggs. And then if we go down here, this is the chest for all of our cooked chicken and feathers that we get from our automatic chicken cooker. And in case you didn't know why it's not making the redstone ticking sounds right now, I actually turned it off, but here's the dispenser. It has a little bit of eggs in it, so the chickens are starting to grow up. And since it's off, I'll just show you guys how to turn it on real quick, and I'll also show you why it's not on. We'll replace this for the aesthetic, and then we'll grab the redstone torch, turn it on. You can hear how loud it is, so we'll turn it off. Technically it's automatic, but I just have it off right now. But yeah, there's everything. I hope you guys enjoyed it and that it was neat. Take care and stay tuned for the next episode where we are doing our farming. Bye guys.